The first crack of thunder echoed ominously through the damp, fog-laden streets of Blackport as Detective Elias Marlowe stepped out of his rattling car. The Armitage House loomed before him, its Victorian spires and carved gargoyles dissecting the night sky with an aura of foreboding. A house with a history, whispered about in the corners of the town. Tonight, it was to become a stage for Marlowe's latest investigation. The call had come just an hour ago, disturbing the rain's rhythmic dance on his windowpane. An apparent suicide, they said, but his instincts hummed otherwise. As Elias approached, the distant howl of the sea crashing against the cliffs added an unsettling melody to his thoughts of the matriarch. Eleanor Armitage met him at the door with a candle flickering ominously in her hand, casting jagged shadows on her worry-creased face. "Welcome, Detective," she murmured, her voice a fragile echo in the vaulted entry hall. "Thank you, Mrs. Armitage," Elias nodded, stepping inside. The air inside was stale, metallic. It spoke of time long past, and stories best left untold. Or perhaps, poorly hidden. As Elias followed Eleanor into a richly adorned drawing room, his gaze briefly settled on the portrait of Thomas Armitage, the family patriarch, his painted eyes seeming to follow Elias with an air of unending judgment. It was then he met the rest of the Armitage circle. There was Robert, the distant nephew, whose business sense and icy demeanor often set him apart. Lydia, the niece, her sharp wit unmatched, but bearing a shadowed gaze that betrayed a lifetime of secrets. And finally, Andrew, Eleanor's own son, a figure of quiet resignation, who rarely ventured beyond the estate. "It's Maurice," Eleanor sighed, a semblance of formal composure slipping through her fingers. "My brother. He was found in the library." Her voice cracked at the last word, a telltale vulnerability belying her hardened exterior. In the library, the scene was kept as it was found, Maurice lying slumped over the grand mahogany desk, untouched by time but now touched by death, a revolver limply cradled in his hand. "Suicide?" Elias questioned, inspecting the arrangement. His eyes flicked over the room, noting the subtle irregularity, an ink smudge on Morris's sleeve, the overturned inkwell, and the untouched glass of brandy resting away from the deceased's hand. Elias pushed back his hat, the subtle clues coalescing into discomforting questions. He turned to Eleanor, his gaze unyielding. "When was the last time you saw him alive?" "Dinner, last evening," Eleanor replied, eyes not meeting his. "He left early. Said he had work." Elias hummed, a mild non-committal sound. "And what of the rest of you?" he asked, turning his attention to each present family member. Robert's lips drew tight, his eyes cold. "I was in the study all night. We were in the midst of a sensitive financial discussion." Maurice wasn't pleased. Lydia's sharp gaze danced between grief and irritation. "Upstairs, reading," she offered curtly. Maurice had been distracted of late. And Andrew, quietest of them all, hesitated. "In the garden," he murmured, his voice barely rising above the ambient storm. "I needed some air." Elias nodded, pondering. "Curious," he began, "notice the ink, by chance, Mrs. Armitage?" Eleanor's facade faltered momentarily. "I hadn't," she admitted, her eyes briefly darting to the desk. "An odd thing, isn't it?" Elias pressed, standing by the window, hearing the distant toll of a bell from the cliffs far beneath. A man writing a note, then forgetting to stain his fingertips? The atmosphere thickened as Elias continued. Moreover, why a revolver? Why not a more subtle method, given his choice of poison? Silence swept the room, each word a stone cast into deep waters, unsettling secrets submerged beneath. Elias passed over the evidence, the ink, the glass, missing pens, a glaring lead. Was he poisoned, then shot at his desk? But why leave such a messy scene? Eyes exchanged quick glances, gauging the shift as the detective spoke with mounting clarity. Elias felt the narrative twist in his mind, unveiling behind each measured phrase. Someone here knew Morris's affairs, knew enough to fear ruin. Someone used ink to cast an inescapable shadow. So who? Fear glazed Robert's cautious stare, Andrew's posture shrank marginally, and Lydia. Lydia's eyes blazed most fiercely. A cunning grin stretched slowly over Elias's face as realization washed over him like the lighthouse's beam cutting through the storm. Lydia. Smart, impatient Lydia. You fed me falsehoods earlier, Elias declared. Reading before this library, were you not? Lydia's poise fractured. I did it for the family, she snapped, her composure crumbling. His debts would have ruined us all. Eleanor gasped, a distant stare engulfing her weary eyes as echoes of a family's decay tainted the room. As Lydia was escorted out, wrapped in the pronounced silence of accusation, Elias sighed inwardly. The truth, like the very ink that stained the guilty's fingers, left an indelible mark upon their family and their failing legacy. Watching as dawn slowly pierced the storm, Elias left the Armitage House, his duty fulfilled, yet the unease clung to him like the receding scent of decay, a constant reminder of his role in unearthing the forbidden truths hidden within the shadows.